People who were dating someone that went from, I think I want to marry this person, to, I think I need a restraining order. What happened? I was in a relationship that made me feel really down. It was so bad that I started having trouble with something personal. It took a lot of courage, but I finally decided to leave her. After I left, she found someone new who she later married. But she wasn't nice about it. She would call me every week just to tell me how much better he was than me in every way. I didn't want to deal with that anymore, so I moved far away and changed my phone number. I never heard from her again, but she tried to reach out to my parents and even went to their house. They told her to leave and not come back. Years went by, and about 10 years actually, when a friend of mine bumped into someone who knew my ex, they told us something shocking. My ex had been arrested for hurting her own mother. After she got out of jail, she hurt her husband and tried to take their kids away from him. She was arrested again but was let go later. Looking back, I realized I was really lucky to have left when I did. It was like I avoided something really bad that could have happened to me. And now imagine if he stayed, he would be the one getting weekly calls from jail instead of Rufus notifications, you know? Hey, remember me? Just calling to say I'm in jail again, and oh, by the way, you're still not as good as my new cellmate. Story 2. Once I finished school, my girlfriend wanted to switch to a new college, so we packed up and moved to a town where she said she'd been allowed to join a new school. But it turned out she wasn't accepted, and when she tried to join, they said no. So she started working at Walmart while she tried to figure out what to do next. After spending 2 months there, she got it in her head that we should all move to Pittsburgh. She was sure that moving there would fix everything and make her happy. But this was during a really tough time when money was tight and I had just gotten a good job. I didn't want to leave. Then things got really bad. She started being mean and I didn't even want to go home. She was always in a bad mood and it seemed like she was always about to get ready for a big fight. I started staying away from her as much as I could. Now, before all this happened, we had been together for 4 years, and yeah, she could be moody, but she wasn't mean. After half a year of the bad stuff, she went back to her parents' house to study at a school near them for a while. I called her 2 weeks after she left and told her not to come back. It was like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I knew I never wanted to see her again. Story 3. I brought my ex to live with me way too soon. She wasn't happy with where she was staying, and I thought I could help her feel better. She didn't have a job, so I paid for everything we needed. The time she did get a job, she kept all the money for herself and then quit without warning after just a few weeks. Little by little, she started treating me badly in almost every way except for one. I let it happen, telling myself it was okay, even though it wasn't. I learned about something called financial wrongdoing, which is when someone uses your money to control you, and that's what she was doing to me. She made me feel like I had to buy her things, even a really expensive laptop, by saying it was because of her mental health problems. When I didn't have any more money, things got really bad between us. We ended up with a lot of debt, and then she broke up with me. But she stayed in my apartment for a while after that because her name was on the lease too, so I couldn't ask her to leave. She finally moved out on my birthday, and I'm still trying to fix everything that happened. Okay, so I guess she was a professional at the human ATM career thing, huh? She had him funding her lifestyle like a venture capitalist gone wild. Next time, he should invest in a partner who can at least offer emotional support dividends, not just debt and drama. Story 4. I was in a relationship for almost 3 years, starting back in high school when I was in 10th grade. At the beginning, for about a year, everything was really good. He treated me well and we had some things in common. I never knew until after we broke up how bad he really was. For a while, I thought that if we stayed together after high school, we might even get married because he was my first boyfriend and I thought I loved him a lot. But then, after about a year and a half, he started to show who he really was. His family didn't have a lot of money, so I would sometimes help pay for things he needed. But he started to yell at me if I didn't give him money for games, food, or other things he wanted. And he would do this in public places like Walmart, which was really embarrassing. My parents would also help him with gas money, and he would ask me to get it from them if they hadn't given it to him yet. I didn't want to keep giving him money, and I tried to talk to him about it, but he would just scream at me, saying I had no right to tell him not to take my money. He became really mean to me, both in how he treated me and with my money, which I didn't know was a kind of mistreatment until after we broke up. The worst thing that happened was the night he forced himself on me, taking advantage of me when I wasn't ready. We kept dating for almost another year after that, but it was because I was scared of what he might do if I left him. I finally ended things the year after, just before my birthday, when I found out he had cheated on me again, this time with someone who used to be my best friend. I wish I had told my parents about what was happening sooner, but I only told them about 3 to 4 years after everything happened. Now, I really hope I never have to see him again. Story 5. We were in a long distance relationship for many years, and over time, it started to feel less special. She wanted me to move to the United States, which meant giving up my college degree, leaving my family and pets, and living there without the right papers. I would have had to take any job I could find just to be with her. I told her I couldn't do that right away, but she didn't like it when I spent time with friends. She would post a lot of things on my Facebook wall and send me messages that were hurtful and sometimes scary because she would talk about hurting herself. I decided to end the relationship and move on with my life, but she kept trying to talk to me, saying we could be friends. I tried to be her friend, but sometimes she would get very angry with me for no reason, saying I had ruined her life by making her think she could find love. When I told her that she could find love and be happy, she would get even more upset. It was hard to talk to her because of this. A few years after we broke up, she contacted me again. She said that because I had once promised to marry her, I was supposed to do that now, even though it had been many years. She thought I should fly to the US and marry her as if it was something I had to do. I realized I couldn't keep in touch with her anymore, so I stopped responding to her messages. I want to make clear that we did see each other in person. I would go to the US twice a year when I had time off from university, and I would stay with her for about 2 months each time. Those visits were always nice and we had a good time together, but when we were apart, she would get very worried and jealous if I went out with friends, afraid that I might meet someone else and not want to be with her anymore. Story 6. I was seeing this guy who acted really nice when we first started dating, but after about half a year, he changed and became super possessive. He didn't trust me at all. One time, I told him I was going to hang out with a friend from my old job at a bar that was really close to where we lived. It was in a safe part of town, and the bar was just a short walk away. The friend's name could be for a guy or a girl, but I told him it was definitely a girl I was meeting. But he didn't believe me and ended up showing up at the bar to check, which made him look really insecure. He started to keep track of where I was by using the GPS on my phone. I found out about this when I decided to visit a relative after work before going home, and he totally freaked out. He even called my mom because he thought I was cheating on him, even though my mom knew exactly where I was and that I wasn't doing anything wrong. The thing that really made me end things with him happened when I started a new job. I was working nights and I had my phone with me at work, but I got this really long email from him that was all about a little comment I made on a selfie I posted on Facebook. He sent me pictures of the comment and wrote this huge essay about how he thought all my online friends were trying to steal me away from him. After I broke up with him, he kept sending me emails for months. Sometimes he would say he was sorry, and other times he would try to make it seem like I was the one who was treating him badly. He even sent emails saying that someone was harming him, which was really crazy and not true at all. It was a really tough time dealing with all of that. And if you're enjoying the video and learning a thing or two at least from all of these people's other relationships, please don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 7. I was in a relationship with a girl who, at first, seemed like the perfect match for me. She was cute, had a great sense of humor, and we shared a lot of interests. But she also introduced me to new things, which made our time together really exciting. I was really into her, and she seemed to feel the same way about me. However, things started to get a bit strange. She became jealous of friends I had known since high school, way before I met her. She even told me that I wasn't allowed to spend time with some of my female friends unless she thought they weren't as pretty as her. The situation got worse when she started getting jealous of things like my video game consoles and games, even though she had given some of them to me. One day, something really bad happened. My grandfather asked me to take care of her dog, a tiny little thing that I absolutely adored. But one day, when I was half asleep, I saw my girlfriend push the little dog off my bed. I was shocked and asked her why she would do such a thing. She said she didn't like that I was paying more attention to the dog than to her. Things went from bad to worse when she started hurting me whenever I did something she didn't like. It got to the point where she didn't like anything I did. It took a lot of courage, but I finally ended the relationship. After we broke up, she tried to trick me into staying by saying she was pregnant, but it wasn't true. After the breakup, I found out some upsetting things. She was still looking at my Facebook page without my permission, and she had been telling her friends and people we both knew that I was the one who was causing her harm, which wasn't true at all. I also learned that when I wasn't around, she would let other guys do other things that were not okay. Story 8. I was dating this guy and I really liked him a lot. He was smart, funny, and always up for an adventure. We were getting pretty serious and he spent so much time at my place that he was practically living there. One weekend, I went back home to celebrate my dad's birthday. All of my brothers were there and we had a great time. We ate good food, shared some laughs, and just enjoyed being together. My sister-in-law took some pictures and posted them on Facebook, making sure to tag me in them. When I got back to my house on Sunday night, my boyfriend was supposed to come over. We were going to hang out and he was going to stay the night, but when he showed up, he was really angry. He started yelling at me and saying really hurtful things, all because he had seen those pictures on the internet with me and a bunch of guys. He didn't believe me when I told them they were my brothers. I tried to explain, but I had already made up my mind that I couldn't be with him anymore. I asked him to leave, but instead of leaving, he tried to kiss me and he wasn't being gentle about it. It was like he was trying to force me to kiss him back. Luckily, my roommate heard all the noise and came out of her room with a baseball bat. That's when my boyfriend decided it was time to go, but not before he went in a pantry door and messed up some of the wall. I threw all the stuff away, and after that, he started to stalk me. For years, he would show up at places I had moved to after we broke up, and he would try to call me even after I'd changed my phone number. He even texted me the week I was getting married, asking me to think about being with him instead. Like, really, dude? I wasn't going to give up the love of my life for someone who acted so crazy and then wouldn't leave me alone. Story 9. When I was young, I wasn't very smart when it came to relationships. I had never been in a serious one before and I had no idea what I was doing. This was my first love and I was sure I was going to marry him. He was 3 years older than me and now I know he was a bad person. He told me he loved me and that we would be together forever. He made me believe we would have a perfect life together. I wanted to feel like an adult so badly that I jumped at the chance to be with him. There wasn't one big thing that made me want to get away from him. He was just not good from the very beginning. Our first date as a couple was for homecoming. He was actually going to take another girl, but he said he canceled with her to go with me. Instead of seeing that as a bad sign, I thought it was a romantic thing to do. But things just got worse and worse. He wanted me to talk to him on the phone all the time when I wasn't at school. He would get mad if I didn't call him right when I got home, and we would stay on the phone for hours until I fell asleep. On the weekends, he expected me to call him first thing in the morning, and he would yell at me if I slept in too late. We didn't really have anything to talk about, and he would get angry if I wanted to hang up, even if we were just sitting there in silence. Whenever I told him I would be away for the weekend, whether it was for family stuff or school trips, he would get really upset. It would take a long time to get him to tell me why he was angry. He would say he had these amazing plans for us, even though he never had any plans when I was around. He caused me harm a few times, but I was too young and too stupid to realize it was wrong. I just thought he was really passionate. I started to understand that I was in too deep when he started pushing me to be intimate. I didn't want to, but he did. He talked about us going to a hotel and how great it would be, but it made me really uncomfortable. I just went along with the planning because I thought it would make him stop talking about it. One day, I was talking to my mom and something just snapped inside me. One minute, I was head over heels for this guy, and the next, I couldn't stand the thought of him. My mom helped me come up with a plan to end things with him, which I couldn't have done by myself. I broke up with him over the phone because I was scared of how he would act if I did it in person. My mom talked to his parents and my school to make sure I had people looking out for me. I told him very clearly that he should not try to talk to me or come near me. He kept driving by my house for a while and my mom kept me home from school for a week because of it. He would sit outside on the street for a long time, just waiting. Even our neighbors helped us by telling us when he was around. It got pretty bad and I had to stay with my dad for a few days. He left a card and a stuffed bear on our porch on Valentine's Day, which was creepy. Finally, he stopped coming around, but I was scared for a long time, always wondering if or when he would show up again. I still don't know why he stopped, but I will never forget how scared I was. Story 10. When I was a teenager, I started dating a guy who was much older than me, 13 years to be exact. I was young and not very experienced with relationships, and he knew that. At first, everything seemed okay. We met at work, where we both had jobs delivering pizzas. We would have fun together while we were working, and after our shifts, we would go out on dates. I would often stay over at his place afterward. There were some things about him that I didn't like, though. He had some inappropriate ideas, but I thought that maybe I could help him see things differently. The moment I really knew I had to leave him was one night when my twin brother lost his house key. My brother called me and asked if I could let him into the house. When I told my boyfriend that I needed to go help my brother, he said, "No, you're staying with me." I tried to explain that it was my twin brother, but he didn't care. He said that I had made plans with him and that I should stay, and that my brother was an adult and could figure something else out. That's when I realized I had to get out of there. I called my brother and told him what was happening, and he called our mom. After that, my boyfriend became really controlling and possessive. He wanted to talk to me at least twice a day, whether it was in person or on the phone. He wouldn't even let me close the store by myself. He tried to make me believe that my twin brother, who I've known since before we were born, was a bad person who wanted to break us up. He never hurt me, but he threatened me, kept me from sleeping, and made me feel small whenever he could. I broke up with him in a pretty clever way. I rented a car and went to the laundromat where he was doing his laundry, pretending I was there to help. I parked the car a block away at a convenience store, folded a couple of his shirts, and then told him we were over. I walked out of there feeling really strong, and then I ran to the car, drove away really fast, and turned off my phone. The next day, I got a new phone and a new number. And if any of these stories got to you and you learned a thing or two about life and relationships in general, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video, and thanks for watching this one with me.